Oh, enjoy this moment. Soak it in. Soak it in. Soak it in. It's really real. Are you all right? Ooh.
Okay, get out. Everybody get out.
The moment DA Brat stepped in front of the cameras, her eyes were filled with a mix of anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, but the weight of what she was about to reveal made her hands tremble. "I've stayed silent for too long," she began, her voice shaking. "But people need to know the truth. This isn't just a scandal. This isn't just rumors or gossip. A child, an innocent little kid, died in Judy's pool, and the way she acted before and after, it's something I can't ignore anymore." The audience gasped, and even the crew behind the cameras fell silent, feeling the heaviness of her words. She paused, collecting herself, then continued, describing the tragedy in painstaking detail, painting a picture of the day that changed everything. She recounted the laughter, the joy, the way the child had been playing, and how in one horrifying moment, Judy's negligence led to an unimaginable tragedy. DA Brat's tone was raw, emotional, and completely unfiltered. She spoke of the helplessness she felt, the disbelief, and the immediate surge of fear and anger that consumed her the instant she realized what had happened. It was clear to everyone watching that this wasn't just a story for views. This was a personal nightmare she had lived through. DA Brat took a moment to explain her relationship with Judy, painting a vivid picture of trust and closeness that once existed. She spoke of years spent together, of shared dreams, laughter, and loyalty. But juxtaposed against that, she didn't shy away from revealing how the betrayal hit her like a sledgehammer. The woman she thought she knew, the person she trusted implicitly, had shown a side so reckless and callous that it shattered everything. DA Brat's words conveyed both heartbreak and disbelief. She described how, in the days after the incident, she grappled with sleepless nights and haunting images of the tragedy. The memory of the child struggling, of Judy's inaction, and the cruel reality of loss haunted her relentlessly. Every word she spoke was heavy with grief, but also charged with a quiet fury, the kind that only comes from feeling deeply betrayed by someone you loved and trusted. As she delved deeper into the incident, DA Brat painted a chilling scene. The child had been playing near the pool, unsupervised for just a few minutes, but those few minutes proved fatal. "It was so fast, so sudden," she said, her voice breaking. "1 second, everything was fine, and the next, it was gone." She described the panic, the desperate attempts to save the child, and the horrific realization that it was too late. She didn't hold back any details, emphasizing the negligence she had witnessed and the complete lack of accountability. The crowd watching could feel the weight of her sorrow. She didn't just recount facts. She relived every moment, every scream, every futile reach, and every tear that followed. This was a tragedy that left scars, not only for the family but also for DA Brat herself, and she wanted the world to understand the gravity of what had happened. The script then turned toward Judy's behavior. DA Brat didn't hold back her anger as she described Judy's actions both before and after the tragedy. She explained how Judy had dismissed warnings, ignored safety precautions, and acted in ways that were careless at best and reckless at worst. "I couldn't believe my eyes," DA Brat said, her tone sharp. "The way she laughed off small dangers, the way she tried to cover things up, even when she knew what happened, it made me question everything about her." She contrasted Judy's public persona, a charming, controlled, and seemingly responsible woman, with the reality she had witnessed in private, a person who neglected responsibility and endangered lives. Every detail DA Brat revealed added layers to the audience's understanding of Judy's negligence, her recklessness, and the consequences of her actions. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was deadly, and DA Brat made it clear that this was a line she could never forgive or forget. DA Brat's voice trembled as she began to speak about the overwhelming emotional storm she had endured. She admitted that the weight of grief, anger, confusion, and disbelief had been nearly impossible to process all at once. "I loved her, I trusted her," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes, the raw vulnerability in her tone impossible to ignore. And in a single moment, all of that trust was shattered. The way she let that happen, the way she treated the aftermath. "I didn't know who I could turn to or what I could say." Each word carried the weight of a heart torn apart, a trust broken beyond repair, and a life irrevocably changed. DA Brat's voice quivered as she recounted the moments of disbelief that followed, the times when she asked herself over and over, how could this have happened? Why was the person she loved most capable of such betrayal? The questions hung in the air, unanswered, as the magnitude of the situation pressed down on her. It wasn't just heartbreak, this was a trauma that left permanent emotional scars, an injury to the soul that no amount of time could erase entirely. She made it clear that staying silent was no longer an option. The pain had become too public, too impossible to contain in private. There was a raw, almost palpable sense of betrayal that went far beyond ordinary heartbreak, a violation so deep that it shook her very identity, leaving her to grapple with who she could trust, how she could ever trust again, and what it meant to rebuild her life in the wake of such devastation. The emotional turmoil didn't exist in isolation. DA Brat explained how the fallout rippled outward, affecting every corner of her life. The incident sparked legal investigations, drawing the attention of authorities who began scrutinizing every detail of what had transpired. The media descended with intensity, dissecting every revelation, broadcasting every rumor, and fueling public curiosity in ways that were relentless and exhausting. Neighbors whispered, conversations were overheard, and social media became a storm of speculation. The community, once distant and neutral, became a sea of observers and commentators, each one piecing together the story in their own way. Judy's actions were no longer private. They had been exposed, laid bare for all to see, and the image of the perfect life she had cultivated began to crumble under the weight of truth. DA Brat shared how the scrutiny affected her personally, the pressure coming not just from strangers or the public, but from family, friends, and even fans who were desperate for answers, desperate for her to explain how something so devastating could have occurred. Each day brought new questions, new expectations, and new judgments. And yet, through all of this, DA Brat remained steadfast. She had made a decision early on to tell her story truthfully, no matter the personal cost, no matter the difficulty of reliving the pain each time it was recounted. She was committed to facing the consequences of transparency because the alternative, silence, was impossible. In a moment of remarkable courage, DA Brat addressed her audience directly, conveying why she had chosen to go public with such a deeply personal and painful story. She emphasized that her motives were not rooted in revenge, nor were they an attempt to gain fame or attention. Instead, she spoke of accountability and justice, of the importance of shining a light on truths that could not be ignored. "I can't stay quiet anymore," she said, her voice firm, resolute, carrying a tone that left no room for doubt. "Someone needs to tell the world what really happened. Someone needs to stand up for the innocent lives affected by negligence." Her words were not just a declaration, they were a call to action, a challenge to the public to recognize the responsibilities that come with trust and to never turn a blind eye to danger. She implored viewers to consider the importance of child safety, to understand the stakes of accountability, and to acknowledge the deep consequences that result from betrayal and negligence. Her message resonated with urgency, her voice carrying both authority and heartfelt sincerity, leaving viewers shocked and emotional, many struggling to reconcile the gravity of her experience with the reality of their own lives. DA Brat continued to articulate the profound impact of the betrayal on her inner world. She spoke about sleepless nights spent replaying moments, conversations, and decisions, wondering if she could have prevented the situation, or if signs had been missed along the way. "I went over it all, again and again," she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "I asked myself 1,000 times if I could have done something differently, if I should have known, if I could have stopped it. But the truth is, some things are beyond your control, no matter how much you love or how careful you are." Her words conveyed a universal truth about human vulnerability and the limits of personal responsibility, a reminder that even when one gives everything, betrayal can come from the places you least expect. Even as she relived the pain, DA Brat spoke of the resilience that had begun to grow from it. She described the difficult process of learning to process emotions without being consumed by them, the painstaking steps of rebuilding trust in herself, and the work of creating boundaries that could protect her from further harm. "Healing doesn't happen overnight," she said, her voice calmer now, layered with quiet determination. "It's a process. Some days are harder than others, but each day I learn something about myself." Each day I find strength in knowing that I survived, that I'm still standing. She acknowledged the role of her support network, family, friends, and those who stood beside her, as crucial in this journey, providing comfort, perspective, and the reminder that she was not alone. Her testimony was more than a recounting of events. It was a powerful, living illustration of the pain betrayal causes, the complexities of trust, and the resilience required to survive such profound emotional upheaval. DA Brat's words left an indelible mark, not just as a narrative of her personal suffering, but as a compelling appeal to the audience to recognize, prevent, and respond to the harms that betrayal and negligence can inflict. The intensity of her message, combined with the depth of her emotion and the clarity of her convictions, made it impossible to forget, leaving a lasting impression of both heartbreak and the enduring power of courage in the face of unimaginable challenges. Finally, DA Brat reflected on the personal lessons learned from this devastating experience. She spoke of resilience, vigilance, and the painful but necessary process of moving forward. She emphasized that while the trauma would never completely fade, sharing the truth and holding those accountable was a step toward healing. We must protect the vulnerable, speak out against wrongdoing, and never allow trust to be betrayed without consequences, she concluded, her voice a mixture of sorrow and determination. She urged viewers to comment, like, share, and subscribe, not just to support her story, but to help spread awareness about responsibility, accountability, and child safety. Her final words lingered long after the video ended, leaving a lasting impact of empathy, shock, and the undeniable truth. Some betrayals can cost more than just hearts, they can cost lives.